All right, everyone. Hey, thanks for stopping by tonight. This is my latest I'm speaking live stream, and I'll be speaking with Mr. Pedro Bet on You Santiago. Um, Pedro and I share a little bit of history. In fact, I'm gonna bring Pedro on now. There he is.
Hey,
We've got a little bit of history in that you started out in rideshare in 2020.
hmm
You were in a transitional situation because of what the casino and all. I started out in rideshare as I've mentioned many times in 2016. Started out with I was on board with Uber, and in South Carolina, um, Lyft. It was only available in Charlotte and in Myrtle Beach, and then in January 2017, it was available in the entire state. But that's one thing where we share.
yeah,
Um, the other history is that for some of y'all who don't know, I was a guest on Pedro's Sunday live stream back in 2023. And so I kind of hinted at some point I'm gonna do a live stream, but didn't know it'd be 2 years later.
yeah,
But Pedro, when I asked him to appear on on the live stream, he says, "Yeah, let's do it." So I was very encouraged by that. So thanks for
absolutely.
agreeing to appear. So y'all, let's see here who we got here right now. Okay, that's you. A little late night whispers. No, no, no. We talking. We ain't no whispering here.
Mm-mm. Definitely
All
not.
right. So in the news today, Pedro had a big deliver that order, $3,200 order.
Pretty
Now
big.
you hyped it up as being paid $9, but I'm gonna give you a little bit of clarification. Then we'll talk about it though. But
hmm
the $9.70 was deliver that's base, but in recent months and weeks, deliver that shared how it had a new pay structure in which they've kind of kneeled to Easy Cater, and
Yeah,
so it's a tiered system. And so because the order amount was over $3,000, your tip guarantee was 300.
yeah.
So that explains why you the breakdown of the money. But it shouldn't surprise you though that I've had my share of $3,000 orders, not
I'm
on
not
deliver
surprised.
that. In fact, I will tell you this much: I have once was offered a $3,000 order. It was $3,600 on another app, and I turned it down because it was only paying $185.
That's why. Was it on like delivered?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, this order obviously was worth my time. I mean, it's a
Mm-hmm.
great order. I was just a little surprised by the commission base being so low. But obviously, there's other factors possibly. I've had orders that the subtotal was $100 and the commission was
Mm-hmm.
20. So it was just kind of
Right.
weird to deliver that much food and only get
Mm-hmm.
$9 from the company
From
itself.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. But I'm not surprised. I never really paid a lot of attention to the breakdown of the money. I just look at the money, and
Yeah,
I've been on record saying I at least what I at least 90% of the orders that I accept for catering opportunities, I try to get, I'm accepting orders that pay at least 10% of the order amount. So inherently, when I've had those $3,000 orders, it's paid well over $300,
yeah.
in my
Mine
opinion.
was just at the 10% really. So it's,
Mm-hmm.
and it was easy logistically and the timing of
Mm-hmm.
everything and the setup. So easy that for me, definitely worth it. I mean, even if it was paying 200, I wouldn't have been happy, but even at $200, it's still from the time and the effort and the mileage, still would have been
Mm-hmm.
very profitable. Would
Right.
would I have liked it to pay 5 or 600? Absolutely, we all would have. But
Mm-hmm.
I'll take the $309 every day. So
Oh yeah, of course, of course.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at you one bit. In fact, let's see. Sorry about this. I'm gonna get this right here. Ah, okay. I'm trying to break up this conversation with some music here. So,
yeah.
anyway, so yeah, So that was a good deal for you, man. You'll see your money. Let's see, probably it may be Friday or it may
I
be
think
next
so.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way Deliver That goes. But in my market, at least for me, when Deliver That, I've not seen a Deliver That order probably since November.
Wow.
I've not seen
Because
one.
of the things that changed in the platform with the Easy Cater, and you think they're getting less business? Because I've also seen a decrease in opportunity in St. Louis.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, I've not completed a Deliver That order since when was it? I'm looking at my what you call it now. It's been since October since I've completed 3 Deliver That orders since like August.
Wow.
Yeah. So let's move on here. Okay, now when I appeared on your live stream, this is where I'm going to kind of bring you what I mentioned beforehand, bring us to where we are now. Now the week of that live stream, you mentioned about you were going to try to shoot for $2,000 that week,
Mm-hmm.
and you said you're going to try to do it in what 5-6 days,
Mm-hmm.
and damn if you didn't do it, you did it like in 4.5 days.
Yeah,
And
4.5. 4.5. Yeah.
and
I
I'm
think
just
I think I got it by like maybe 4 or 5 o'clock on that Friday.
Mhm.
Is when I hit it. Yeah.
Right. So I said, I went on record as saying that was kind of Beeman-esque, Bob Beeman-esque, Olympic long jumper, because I had not heard those type of numbers, at least on gig food delivery. Now,
Yeah.
in the space that I'm primarily in now with last mile and brokered opportunities, oh hell, I've seen that type of money. Hey, Cray,
Craig
thanks for
Craig.
stopping through there. Thanks for stopping through here. And let's see here. Driving with Chris. Damn it, Pedro. Did you cut your ponytail? Yes, he
Something
did.
like that. I did. Yeah.
Yeah, he has a serious coiffeuring modification here.
Listen, it's 2025, geezer. I had to change it up a little bit.
Hey, I'm not mad at you, man. I'm very adverse to the barber because I'm from the era where they used to laugh at you. They used to give you grief. I mean, you wanted to come to school with your blowout, your Afro Sheen blowout, man. And my mother would not allow me to come home without that haircut. And if I
Yeah.
didn't, she'd march me back to the barbershop. And then I knew it was a bad day. It was
Yeah,
really
yeah.
a bad day.
Yeah, I bet.
So that's why after all these decades, I still got the fro.
Well,
But
you probably. So I used to have my hair really short, and I used to have it cut it every week. Like every week, it would be a cut because you cut it short, and you want to have it look good. You got to maintain it. I don't know how often
Yes.
you get yours cut, but you've got you keep it clean, you keep it good. So
Well, my barber, he really likes to see me because he knows this. He can count on he can count on one hand how many times it's going to show up in a year.
yeah. Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it's not what you think though, but I just happen to comb it. There's rideshare rodeo talking about what the funk is up. Hey man, we just trying to function
What's
right
up?
now.
What's up, Steve? How you
That's what
doing?
we're trying to do. We're trying to function, Steve.
Yep.
So anyway, you hit that number.
Yeah.
I said that I thought it was rather Beeman-esque. In fact, I'm gonna show you the video of what I said.
I kind of think you were in the vein of you didn't think it was possible, at least with the apps I was doing at that time. I think a lot of people thought that was too high of a goal. It can't be done. I don't know if that maybe my recollection's wrong, but I think some people were kind of surprised that I was able to do it.
Well, you were talking one app. And I've
Yeah.
always been the advocate of multi-apping. So I'm not going to say I was a skeptic. It's just that I knew that if it could be done, it could only be done if the market conditions were right. But this is what. Let's see here. I'm bring this in here. Share screen. Let's see here. All right, is that in there?
Yep.
Okay. So, all right, this is when I earned $600 in one day, which is something that you didn't do. So,
Pedro or anything of the sort. In fact, I've already said what I'm going to say about what he did this week. I think it was rather Beeman-esque.
Okay.
Given that it's 2023 and the fact that what he's doing is outside of what was a very common occurrence 2-3 years ago, back in 2020 and 2021. So that said, Pedro said a lot of things that I think I have shared from time to time on my Gig Geezer on my channel, but I think his words are going to have a lot more resonance given the following that he has currently on his channel. But that said, I'm doing this based on working multiple apps. So far, I put in 6.5 hours. I've made $503. When I made $503 earlier this month, I put in like 9 hours.
All right, so that's what I did on that, and I started off with a $300+ catering order opportunity. That was one of those $3,000 order that I had, and so that was my that was my little bump to the day, and so I was determined to try to get to 600, but I had to mention you in that video in a good sense. Of course, you know, of course you threw a lot of shit at me from time to time. Hey man, see, I'm doing that with one app. I'm doing it with one app, and I'm like, Pedro, you gotta understand, man. What I do in my market ain't like in your market, and I'm pretty sure that I couldn't do it on one app.
Listen, I think, you know, I'll have to admit, as I've gotten away from DoorDash, and because DoorDash was my main one for a long time, and I did Uber, and I threw in Instacart and other things, but as I've gotten away from it, I'll be the first to admit, I didn't know what I didn't know, right? And, you know, you're making okay money with 1 or 2 or 3 apps, but as I've broadened my horizons a little bit, and as I've upped to my minimum, you know, I couldn't imagine doing a $4 order right now. There's just no way I would ever do that, right? But back then I would do one for a mile. And, you know, so I definitely would throw a lot of shade here and there. And, you know, I always thought it was kind of fun banter between you and I at times. It never got ugly, you know. It was always just kind of good. It was always just kind of good. And, and I definitely know a lot more now than I thought I did. And I thought I knew a lot back then. But as you start to evolve and you learn your market and new apps pop up, I mean, the capabilities are just, you know, I definitely limited myself for about 1.5 years, 2 years there with just working one main app. You know, I definitely limited myself. So, yeah.
Right. Well, again, that's what I'd been advocating almost the entire time I'd been on, since I've started this channel. I think I was ahead of myself, but, you know, everybody's saying the same thing now.
Yeah.
But it was just out of necessity in my market because Columbia ain't like St. Louis.
Yeah.
Or Houston or what have you. So now I set all that up to set up this question. Did the beginning of the end, as you knew of yourself, start after that week where you earned that 2,000? I
don't know. I think I feel really far removed from that week. And, you know, that was a week I was part of a challenge with other drivers. And, you know, I hadn't really pushed myself like, exactly. I hadn't pushed myself like that in a while. And I said, you know what? I want to do this for the content. I want to do this for the camaraderie. I want to see what I could really do and show people how great St. Louis is. Because I'm very lucky. St. Louis is a really good market. Not a big city, not huge. People wouldn't think it's, you know, not like other ones, but it's really good. But I think for me, doing that and then people still not believing I did it, even though it was vetted and I showed proof. Like, I think some people, I think that was like the beginning of like realizing what you put on YouTube, you know, isn't always going to be received positively. And I never went back. I haven't done 2,000 since, you know. Could I do it in St. Louis? Absolutely. But, you know, as I started figuring out other ways to make money and prioritizing different things, I just kind of wanted to do 1 week like that just to see and show people it can be done. But for me, I think, you know, not doing DoorDash anymore, and that happened, 7.5 months ago. That was really the beginning of how I started to like change my mindset on some things. But that $2,000 week was fun. I mean, and doing it in 4.5 days. I mean, that's, you know, I feel good. I felt proud about that week. You know what I mean? And I didn't even work the weekend, so it was good.
Right. Well, here's something for whatever it's worth. I never hit 2,000 doing gig food.
Yeah.
Just exclusively gig food.
Yeah, that was all food, no ride share, no catering or nothing at the time. It was just all food delivery. Yeah.
The best I ever did ride share exclusively rideshare was like $882, and I worked my ass off that week, and I put in
I
40
bet.
hours, and that was 2016, no 2000. It was 2017, 2017 when I did that.
Yeah.
But again, we're talking two different markets and all.
Yeah.
So would you say then that when would you identify what began to lead you to where you are now then?
Oh,
Now I'm
I
not
think
talking I'm not talking in generalities and all that stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
we're
yeah.
gonna get into all that stuff, y'all. It's just
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm just kind of talking along right now.
I think if you're talking like with the apps specifically and how I looked at them and how I worked them, I think I think somewhere in my mind, in my subconscious or my third eye, whatever you want to call it, I
Mhm.
started getting tired of doing all the DoorDash stuff, making all the DoorDash videos, talking about
Mhm.
DoorDash. It was like repetitive. So
Mhm.
I think in some ways, when I decided to make the decisions to get deactivated, really, and I knew that was going to happen. I wasn't surprised. And then when I decided not to go back to it, not to try to use another account, and I decided, you know what, I need to just like rip this band-aid off. It just
Mhm.
kind of opened up the possibility and it made me have to look at other ways to make money. I think I got
Mhm.
really comfortable doing DoorDash and sprinkling in Instacart and Uber and making a video every day. I got comfortable, and I believe comfortability is bad for gig drivers. We shouldn't be too comfortable. We always got to be pushing the
Mhm.
possibilities, looking at different apps like you talk about and other people talk about. I think I just got too comfortable, and I think that you know realizing what I realizing what I didn't know and kind of letting that ego go down and like not being as prideful and just realizing, man, you know what? I can take DoorDash out of my middle name on YouTube. I don't have to talk about it every day, and I can still do okay and make good money. It was just kind of a game changer for me. And I'm a hard way learner, so it took me a while to get there. But I mean, I've never been happier in the gig economy than I am right now. So
Okay. Well, we got a first timer here, the Stardasians and the Stardasian Misadventures, and so thanks for coming through here.
yeah, what's up? Is
I
that's Eric? How you doing, man?
Okay. And then there's also Michael Manuel. He's been through here before. He's saying there's no way possible people are making $500 a day doing DoorDash. I agree. I mean, shit. I don't.
Yeah, that's
That,
nowadays especially. Yeah, that's like you got to have a lot of luck there.
yeah, like a size 226 horseshoe up your ass, pretty
Yeah.
much. But
Yeah.
yeah, you'd have to hit everything.
Yeah.
Actually, personally, like on DoorDash, man, I've not attempted a DoorDash or completed one since like November.
Good for you.
And yeah, I've completed one Uber Eats since then. No Grubhubs, no Instacarts. So I did upload recently where I said I don't miss them, but they're
Yeah.
there. There's still options, but it's not something that it's not the first option anymore. It's just in a cache of options.
Now, let me
Secondary.
ask you a question. Do you turn those on a daily basis, or are you still just so on either the last mile game, the pre-claim orders that you're not even turning them on?
Not even turn them on. Not even turn them on. I mean,
Yeah.
I turn them. What ends up happening, DoorDash, it ends up timing out, and so there's so much for that block. And then Uber Eats, I end up just turning off because it just gets annoying. And then Grubhub, it is what it is with Grubhub. I mean, it's kind of, you have to, well, from what I can tell, you have to have a high. All your numbers have to be up there in order to get early access anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't miss it. I don't miss it one bit there. So we're gonna go over some words now. Not word game, but we're gonna go over some words, and I think we can kind of talk at length now. There's some things that you've been very public about, sobriety. In fact, that's
Mhm.
gonna be one of the words, but we'll talk about that in order. Your personal health, trying to get healthy,
Mhm.
and so let's talk about responsibility. Responsibility. What does that mean to you in 2025?
Oof. Well, first, I think we know, and I appreciate you bringing these things up because I have been talking about it on my channel, and it's really the most important thing to me right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy making the gig content. I still do it, but it's in a different vein right now, and I enjoy sharing other parts of my life because I think that's more impactful. for myself, and it could be more impactful for others. But responsibility, man, like
Mhm.
the way I'm looking at it right now is I'm responsible for myself first. What I do, how I treat people, my actions, I can control that. And there's certain things I can't. But, I think in a lot of ways over the last 20, we'll call it 20 plus years, Geezer, I've
Mhm.
been irresponsible in a lot of ways, just not looking at the right things, whether it's my health, how I'm treating people, how I'm looking at the world, how I'm responding to things, right?
Mhm.
But responsibility is something that we can control. We can be responsible for ourselves, our actions, how we treat people, how people treat us, but how we react to that. That's a
Mhm.
responsibility that we can manage that, right? So
Right.
I'm on a path right now, Geezer. I'm on a journey. I'm
Mhm.
feeling really good. It's not
Mhm.
always easy. Um, some might call it midlife crisis, or you're getting sober, or you're doing this, you find a higher power. But for
Mhm.
me, I needed it, man. I
Yeah.
really needed some level of responsibility. And I think I got lost a little because the work that we do, we don't have a boss, right?
Right.
We don't have
Right.
anybody we're not on schedules, right? We don't
Right.
have we got to wake up, we got to figure it out, we got to hustle, we got to make it do, we got to pay the taxes, you got to. So within this kind of work, right? It's
Right.
really easy to get lazy and get irresponsible sometimes, right? I think I kind of fell in that pattern. And right now, man, I'm focused on taking personal accountability, responsibility,
Mhm.
doing things for others and not just myself. So
Mhm.
it's a word that I think about a lot for sure.
So were you the youngest, oldest, or middle kid?
I'm the oldest of four.
Okay. All right. So now I'm the oldest of three.
Hmm.
I had two sisters, and so when it comes to responsibility, well, that was kind of ingrained in me because my mother often said, "I ain't raising a sorry man."
Yeah.
Pretty much, if, pretty much, she said, "I'll take you out of I'll take you out of the world before somebody else do it." So there were these expectations, and so when I think of responsibility, I'm thinking of obviously from that angle. In that, um, there are things that I had to own up to, things that I had to own up to. I had a responsibility to self, responsibility to my sisters, responsibility to my mother, and so I often thought about, hey, I can't be going around embarrassing her. Now, that's
Yeah.
just what. Now we move forward to 2025. Well, responsibility now, me of course, but then my queen.
Hmm.
Um, I feel like I have a responsibility with this channel, in that I try to be very responsible with the content that I put out, and well, I don't so much as worry about what people say, but at the same time, I don't think people can call me an sob behind my back.
Yeah.
You know, they may not like that I curse and curse them out, but then again, I've kind of curtailed the cursing. So, um,
Well, why did something happen, or did you feel like you just didn't want to have that on the internet?
well, I mean, I just curtailed it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I just curtailed it. I mean, I mean, I just don't always have to. Every
Yeah.
every 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 third, fourth, this sixth word don't have to be goddamn it, motherfucker, son of a bitch and all. Okay.
I've definitely had some videos where I've done that a few times. Yeah, I definitely
and,
let the words fly. Sometimes it's okay. I
and
think it depends on the
yeah.
context, but yeah, you're
Mhm.
definitely right. I think it's curtailing. It's probably wiser.
Yeah, and given my vocabulary, having been a reporter and a book author and all, I can
Yeah.
use I can use other words as well. I
Sure.
can
Sure. Sure.
yeah, I can help myself out a lot better. So yeah, but again, I go back to the responsibility, like what I think about being a content creator, because I've seen people become shipwrecked already because they've listened to the wrong people,
Hmm.
and I see these. I mean, we can go on and on and on about the people who, what they say now, selling dreams.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So
Like a false reality.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
and so um, I, I've always made the effort to be real, to show realistic stuff. Some people may not believe what I do because I don't show all the deliveries and all that stuff. But damn it, if you're out here,
Yeah.
If you only ran into me, you'll know what I do.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So, let's see here. There are a couple folks talking about how it's kind of rough out there. A Train said, gig apps are tough right now because of the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, typically with the food apps, it is. But give it a couple months in March and it'll pick back up. Okay, March is traditionally tax time, but I want to say that it will pick up mid-February.
I think once you get to like Valentine's Day, at least in St.
Yes.
Louis, is when, restaurant business is historically, January is always the slowest month. And then you get to Valentine's and it starts to pick up back a little bit, at least in my experience.
Right. And then March, you're talking about the NCAA tournament. So
yeah.
That's why I kind of said some creators only show the positive side of gig apps. Yeah, that's what I called the glamorization of that.
Yeah.
And we saw a lot of that back 2020, 2021, parts of 2022, because it was easy to do that. But even now, you still got people glamorizing shit. And I like on the last mile space, you got folk that are trying to make this, put a nice little cute bow tie on what really are bad orders that they're doing. But as a peer of those folk, sometimes you just have to pick and choose your battles. You don't want to come across as just this hating old person, or come across, or someone want to say I'm an old fool, but you just sit back and like, for example, there's a guy right now. He's saying his goal is 100,000 this year, right? He's done 3 runs already, at least based on his videos. He's earned $785 based on his work. From what I've seen, dating back to last year, he's going to have to do a lot of miles in order to get to 100,000.
A lot of hours, a lot of miles.
Yeah, he's going to probably have to drive about 100,000 miles to get to 100,000. Now, are you willing to do that? And really, would it be worth the while? I mean, I hit 6 figures last year, and I was nowhere near that number. In fact, I talked with somebody today. I said 75, but it was probably less than 75,000 miles driven last year, and that's everything that I did. That includes deadhead miles, all that.
Yeah. I mean, and I think you obviously there's some tax benefits depending on how you do it to driving more. Some people would say or look into that, but I couldn't even to make 100,000 with just the apps. For me, I'd have to work a lot more than I'd be willing to work. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You're talking probably 16 hours a day. Easily,
and
18 hours a day.
I'm not doing that. There's no way.
Right.
There's no way.
Okay. So we're going over to responsibility. The word tumultuous, tumult. Well, how does that resonate with you?
Tumultuous?
Tumult. A state of. You've had tumultuous moments in the past year.
I'll say this, Geezer. The last 2 months have been the craziest 2 months of my life. I turned 43 in November. Okay.
Okay, I remember turning 43.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, it was last week, right?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Didn't know if you catch that. I'll say this, man. Since turning 43, it's been wild, and I've been through some things, and we all have. But I'm on day 118, no alcohol, sober for 118 days. So I started that journey, months ago. But then right in the middle of that, a lot of other family and personal things happened with my family dynamic, and I had to make some really tough decisions. And I mean, really by the grace of God and with my sobriety, I've been able to stay sober and deal with all these things. And still work and still earn and still make videos and still be okay. So it's been, the 2024 ended crazy for me, but it's starting off very positive, very hopeful. I'm very focused right now. Tumultuous though, yeah. I mean, the last 2 months have been just a roller coaster, and that's separate from just the gig economy in itself, which is already a little weird, right? Can be a little crazy, but I'm talking major life things, right? And I'm very, very grateful that I've got some really great people in my life. And my sobriety, man, it's a game changer for me. I look back even, Geezer, at some of the older videos I've made or interactions I've had and things that I've done when I wasn't sober, and it's like a completely different Pedro in some ways, you know. So I'm very grateful just to deal with the tumultuous things and like to deal with a struggle and then realize you can kind of come past that, and when you get out of it, you can be better for it, at least from in my experience, you know.
Right.
So
Well, funny. No, I mentioned the word tumult. Star Dajian says he's about to turn 40.
mm,
I'm gonna put you in perspective, buddy. Here, 40 years ago, I started going through that tumult. That actually has led to where I'm at now, at least this space. In that, um, at one point, 40 years ago, I thought I was living my best life,
mm,
working a job.
mm,
I'm able to go to the bowling alley and bowl league the way I wanted to. I go to the beach when I wanted to, go to the racetrack and lose $20 if I wanted to,
mm-hmm,
give my mother some money, after I got paid every week and all.
mm-hmm.
I'm living my best life. Then I meet someone and I start making some serious decisions. It didn't end up with me being in a relationship with this lady, but
Yeah.
it challenged me to make other decisions. Okay. In that I began to really look at, that personal responsibility and all. And the job that I had, all of a sudden, the job started getting crazy. The hours that I was working, all within about 2 months, I was working half the hours.
Mm.
Yes. And shit was going crazy on the job left and right, man. Now, at the same time, I actually started attending church. I mean, I literally would walk to church sometimes
Mm.
or walk home from church. I got to stop and say hello to some folk here. We've got Mr.
Yes.
Raymond Picard Jr. here. And he's also my second vice president of the Gig Geezer crew.
You got two vice presidents? That's impressive.
The first vice president is guy in East Texas. His name escapes my memory right now, but he's first vice president, and Mr. Picard is second vice president.
Nice.
So, all right. So we're I'm going to church. In fact, the church that I attended, the bishop, he was succeeded by Noel Jones, who's been on the Pastors of Los Angeles, on one of those reality shows. But Noel Jones is Grace Jones's brother.
Okay, Grace Jones, the model and the actress.
The actress, yeah. That's his sister-in-law. But anyway, so things are just, whatever could go wrong went wrong. I saw impact. I saw where I'm about to make impact. I'm trying to buffer myself with whatever I can, and just splattered on the ground. Well, in the process, in the midst of all that tumult, my uncle makes contact with me. I make contact with him, then he makes contact with me. And he told me about this opportunity back home in Houston. I didn't think anything of it. Well, 6 months later, I get in contact with him because I knew that he was well known in Houston and all. I thought, well, maybe he can use his connections to find me work or something like that. He sends me the same package. It was a financial aid package and admissions package to Texas Southern.
Mm.
I ended up doing that. Okay. And even then, when I went back home to Houston to go back to school, just long story short, there was tumult with that. This is summer of 1985 now.
Yeah.
There's tumult with that. There were people who just did not think that I could do it, that I could literally come off the streets and go back to school.
Yeah.
But I saw an opportunity that I had because I had nothing to go back to at the hood. Nothing to go back to the hood. And so, long story short, within 5 years after summer of 85, where I came off the streets to go back to a classroom, I'd accepted a job at the Richmond Times-Dispatch, which was the top 2% of newspaper business. So from tumult to accomplishment. Excuse me. So yeah,
I feel that, man. I feel that. Yeah. It's funny looking sometimes you mentioned people didn't think you could do it or whatever, right?
Mhm.
Maybe they doubted you or they didn't think from the streets to a higher education. And like, I think it's always interesting because I've dealt with this too. Sometimes it's the people close to you or that you thought they were your friends, or sometimes it's family or it's a girl you're dating or whatever. Those are the
Mhm.
ones that can be your biggest critics
Yeah.
sometimes. And
Hmm.
sometimes do you feel like that can like it can fuel you sometimes? Do you ever get like, you know what I
Well,
mean?
I think I wouldn't call them critics. I think they can be your biggest haters. In my
Mm,
case, family members who first of all saw Inwood Lane as this 3-year-old on top of the piano. In my grandmother's house, there was a picture of me like 2, 3 years old, they saw me in that picture. They didn't
yeah.
see that I was this adult, who had grown up and all. I had to tell them that. But at the same time, it just the people, and in fact, if you just want to make a reference to the Bible, the people who really hated on Jesus the most were his own folk, not his family members,
His
but
people. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, hey,
Yeah.
you the son of Joseph, and
Yeah.
and you had them. They were pointing out all these things about him. So
Mm,
that's just life. That's just life, man.
yeah.
And
I hear that. I hear that.
yeah, but I think back to that summer of 1985, and I've shared this with some folk how this may be a time of just reflection for me, because that's improbable, man. When you literally leave the hood, South
Yeah.
Central, where the Crips and the Brims and the Rolling 60s, Rolling 70s, Inglewood family and all that, well, I had nothing to go back to, man.
To
I
Houston.
took
So from there to Houston, right?
Yeah, back home to Houston.
Yeah.
I took basically everything I owned in two hands. My sister bought me a suitcase that I used for the next 20 years in my time professionally as a newspaper reporter. But I had a Bacardi bag, a Bacardi tennis bag that I put my stuff in, and a suitcase.
Wow.
And basically
Wow.
everything I owned was in those two items.
That's crazy. When you did that, I was 4 years old.
1985? No, 1985? Or okay, all right.
I was born in
4 years old.
'81. I was born
Okay.
in '81. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, that just goes to show you how old I am.
That's funny.
But yeah, I know I'm harping on that, but at the same, again, um definitely for me there was this focus. I knew what I had to do when I mapped out with the course catalog how to get how to finish in 3 years. I
Mm.
started in the fall of 85, I finished in the fall of 88. Yeah. And I was not going to veer off of that course. Some way, somehow, things worked out for me where I finished in a time span that I said I was going to do.
That's great, man. I love hearing stories like that where people are, you know what I mean? You're young and like you got all this stuff going on and you got a goal and you reach it. You know, I think everything that we deal with when we're young or old, it shapes who you are now. Because you even now, you said you're thinking back to those times, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
And those decisions that you even made 40 years ago
Hmm.
are shaping you right now in some ways because you're able to reflect on it, talk about it, share
Hmm.
the story, and somebody else could get something from it. You know,
Right.
I think it's wild how the world works like that. You know.
Well, one thing that I always said from all that, when I took my last final in December 1988, it was a 400 level course, and when I saw the final, I knew that I had aced that bastard.
Mm.
I finished that final in 15 minutes. Shook my instructor's hand, who was also one of my mentors. And the thing that I always said from that point, I said, when you accomplish something like getting your diploma, can't nobody take that from you.
Yeah.
Whatever major that you accomplish, can't nobody take that from you. Nobody.
Especially a
That's
kid from
what-
the hood, especially a kid from the hood, like you were. That's what you're saying, right? So
Yeah,
think about
yeah.
that. I mean, that's
Yeah.
a major accomplishment. You know.
Yeah, I'm from Third Ward. But when I speak of Houston, that's Third Ward, where Texas Southern is and all. And then when I lived in Los Angeles in South Central, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about then evolution. Now this is when I started looking at your content. I'm like,
Yeah.
that was the first thing that I wrote down. Evolving.
Can I ask you why? Why is that the first word? What popped out at you that made you put that word down? If you don't mind me asking.
Well, from what I remembered, the last content that I saw of you, I saw this person who had that swagger about him, even though I understood why. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I saw someone who's now trying to reach people a different way,
Mm.
using his platform or using what type of leverage that he has to reach people in a more meaningful way.
Mm.
So it's not so much as about the damn DoorDash and Grubhub and Uber Eats. You can always talk about that, but maybe
Yeah.
you can impart something to somebody where it may make impact down the road for somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's some of the things that I've tried to do with my content.
Yeah.
You know, maybe if I gave all the answers to the test and try to play entertainer and all that, I would have, as many subscribers as you right now. But
Yeah.
I'm good with the fact that, hey, folk like Raymond Picard, or even A Train or SB who came through here, or the people who've come up to me and say, hey, I've checked out your stuff, man. The stuff's really helped me out.
Yeah.
Things like that. That means more. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe at some point I may catch another run and see that big push of subscribers and stuff where it may translate into more monetization money. But
Yeah.
I'm okay. Meanwhile,
No, I hear that. And I appreciate you writing that word down, because it's not that I'm trying to do that. That's just my new reality, if that makes
Well,
sense.
but
That's
if
just
I
what's
can
happening.
see that, then that's a good thing, right?
No, it's a fantastic thing. And I think I got, the good. Okay, I love YouTube, Geezer. I love it. I think we both have channels. We obviously have a passion for creating content and getting a word out there, sharing our experience, entertaining, whatever, right? It can be all the
Mm-hmm.
things at once. It could be those things separately based on each video individually. But
Mm-hmm.
for me, I think for a while I got so caught up in the business side of YouTube, the monetization, the subscriber counts, going live every Sunday, the likes, the
Mm-hmm.
all that, right? And I was so caught up in those numbers that I lost a sense of like my own reality,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think that my channel grew kind of quickly, and it just kind of happened just in a few months, and then it continued to go and go and go.
Mm-hmm.
But as I'm down this new journey, this new path, I want to share it because I have a vlog style channel. I share a lot, and I think it's important. But also, I'm seeing people actually getting something from it, because I've done what I can do in the gig space. There's not things change, but they really don't. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's very easy to show somebody how to do a DoorDash order or Uber Eats or deliver that. It's very easy stuff, right? But
Mm-hmm.
for me, when I see comments or I get an email, or I ran into a guy on New Year's Eve. We went out to dinner as a family with some friends. I ran into a waiter that is also on a sobriety journey. We're the same age. We have and he says we talked for like 30 minutes at the end of my meal, because he's talking about his story and how my videos are inspiring him and he loves it. And that to me is like, man, that really means that I'm helping some people. I'm helping
Right.
myself, but I'm also helping people just with a journey of like realness. I'm not talking about a $4 Uber Eats order. I'm talking about life, man. Like,
Right.
and to me, that gets me up more in the morning than to make a DoorDash video. And I did that for 3 years, content every day. Now, because I'm also sprinkling in my journey and some personal stuff, I can just make a video whenever I don't have to do it every day. I just do it when I feel it in my soul, And I mean, for me, man, like it feels good. It just feels better. Like the content I'm making, I feel like it's more me. It's more of my purpose.
Right.
It's not
See,
just
that-
driven based on monetary or a business. It's like
Right.
it's more real. It just feels better,
That's something I tried to explain in a recent video. I'm always asking what's in it for the viewer.
Mm,
What's in it for the viewer?
yeah.
Like it's a function like when I would write. When as a reporter, you always want to write about what's the most important thing that the reader's going to get out of it. So I get that. Now the next word was serenity.
Mm.
That's the next thing after evolving. I wrote serenity. So what does that mean to you right now?
Listen, Geezer. I'm going to be completely transparent with you, man. I'm working my 12 steps. I'm in a program, serenity, and giving it to a higher power, and having the courage to change the things you can. the wisdom to know the difference, and not, and serenity is just like looking at things and saying, hey, I can control this, I can't control that. Not everything's up to me. I can't play my own God. I got to give it to somebody else and let the chips fall where they may, man. That I'm living that shit every day. Every day I think about that. That's how serenity is a word that I literally say every single day, at least 2 or 3 times a day.
Well, when I wrote it down, I just saw serene also means like a certain inner peace. You're
Yeah.
trying to attain a certain inner peace that wasn't there maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So,
For me, it wasn't there 4 months ago. I
Okay.
didn't have that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then the next word after that, one that you can probably elaborate on more. That's why I held back on the word sobriety.
Yeah. Man,
I didn't know that, but then again,
yeah.
I'd seen. But again, the word that was the third thing I wrote down.
Yeah. I mean, I never thought I really had a problem with things, right? Because I was always somebody that was a hard worker. And if you're a hard worker and you're just a little bit smart, you can go a lot of places. You could be successful. You can maybe have a job, gain employment, find a woman, have some kids in it. But at some point, for me, I realized alcohol was a problem. It was holding me back from being the best version of myself. I wasn't as good of a dad or as good of a boyfriend, as good of a son, because I coped with alcohol. And I always had a weird like false idea, a false thinking of what like somebody that had an addiction was. I was like, oh well, they're doing it every day, or they got to wake up and drink, or wake up and use, or wake up and whatever, right? And I never had it like that, but it definitely, I wasn't able to manage my life. And when I decided to cut that out, initially, I wanted to get sober for my health, because alcohol is like, it's bad. It's just bad for your overall health. It cuts years out of your life. It's bad for everything in your body. So I cut it out, not realizing I was an alcoholic. And I got about 30 days in, got admitted to the hospital, spent 3 days in the hospital. And then I started really doing some soul searching as I'm sitting in a hospital bed. I started reading up on some things. I was like, man, and I'm looking back at the things that I have or don't have in my life, and I'm looking back at the bad times and how I've impacted people. Alcohol played a major role in that. I started going to meetings, and I started just to realize some real hard things about trauma, my reality, things I saw as a kid, how I treated people. So my sobriety has become my number one focus in my life right now. And 118 days, no alcohol. I mean, and not even drinking, dealing with all the other things I've been having going on, man. It's a miracle.
Right.
It's God, But my sobriety is so important to me, and I never thought I would be saying this even just for, let's say, 4 months or 118 days ago. But it's something I work on every single day, and I take actionable steps to do it. And I take it very serious, and I've noticed so many changes just in we'll call it the last 2 months. Because the first 30 to 40 days of me not drinking was still a little rocky, right? Because I didn't know what I didn't know. But I mean, the people around me are seeing a change. I feel different. I think my content's different. I'm not as negative. I'm healthier mentally and physically. So my sobriety is everything to me right now. And if I hold that in the top priority when I start my day and end my day, I feel like the beginning and the main parts of my day are just better, and I could be more focused, more present. I could give to others in a better way. When you emailed me and I saw it, I'm all about saying yes to good things. You know what I mean? I'm all about trying to give back. And my
Thanks.
sobriety allows me to do that. I think if you would have emailed me a few months ago, I might not have gotten it back. I might have made an excuse. Oh, I'm a little too busy. But, my sobriety is allowing me to look at things different, and it's opening doors for me that I would not have opened before. It's a big, big, big part of my life right now. So,
Interestingly, when I think of sobriety or just sober minded, now I know that's an exhortation out the Bible where it says, and to be sober minded.
yeah.
Okay. But I also think of, now I don't, believe it or not, I'm a square when it comes to those type of vices. I've never drunk, never smoked, never got high.
Never at all.
Never.
Wow. That's great for
Yeah.
you, man. Wow. That's
Yeah.
impressive.
But there, because there was such tumult in my life at certain points, I would get into such a rage, an inner rage, that it was as if I had it was an inner rage to the extent that it was as if I'd gotten drunk and had to sleep it off.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was just that. It was just that. It was a lot of shit going on in my life at the time too,
Yeah.
and it takes a lot of work. I agree. It takes a lot of work to be at a state of sobriety. You don't always have to be chemically. I guess that's
Yes.
what you would say. You don't have
Yes.
to be chemically, but just life itself can make you drunk.
Well, and you said you haven't drank, smoked, whatever.
Yeah.
But you just talked about you've had experiences where you were high, right? And you acted out maybe in a way that wasn't good, right? Raging or whatever. And that could be a form of, and when you do that, you realize that's not right. I don't want to feel like that. Why do I feel like that? So I think there's levels, and people have different ways of coping or not coping with things. And sometimes it doesn't necessarily mean that you're high or drunk and it makes you rage out. It could be from something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and in my case, it was just
Yeah.
a lot of shit going on, man. A lot of shit, and how I got through it. I mean, maybe I should have had counseling and all that stuff, but I got through it, man. And I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Years, decades later. Well, let's see. Got a couple of folk here. Got Hustle Man Quell said he's out of South Carolina himself. So what part of South Carolina are you, Hustle Man? And then we also got here's Johnny. He said he's been deactivated on Spark for a month now.
That sucks,
So-
man. Yeah.
Okay, so you take assessment of yourself and think about, well, what can you do? What do you do next? That's the first thing that I would do. Look, take assessment of your options. Are you on other apps, or maybe you may have to consider W-2? Maybe I'm just shooting stuff out there though, but I'm just thinking that if I'm in that situation, I'm asking myself, what is it? What are my options? What can I do next? What am I good at? Those are my thoughts.
Yeah.
What's cool? Oh man, you on the other side of town. Hustle Man. He on the other side of town.
Hustle Man's been around for a while on some channels, man. He's a cool dude. So that's
Okay, yeah. Well, he over by the airport.
Is that right?
Yeah, he over by the airport. Yeah, I'm on the opposite end. I'm near I'm in, what they say, northeast. I'm in
cool.
northeast.
You know what, Geezer? I forgot you was in South Carolina, right?
Yeah, Columbus.
Okay, I was just there last month.
Is that right?
Yeah, so I had I drove from St. Louis to Virginia, and then we were going to Florida. So I drove from Virginia, and we stopped about the halfway point was South Carolina. We stopped there for a night, spent the night in South Carolina, and then drove the rest of the way to Florida. This was just a month ago. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So A-Train asked, what part of Third Ward was I from? I was from over off of Dowling and Southmore. You can probably Dowling and Southmore. McGregor was in back of us, North McGregor, then South McGregor, in the shadows of the medical center. Yeah, that's where. And then well, that's good enough. And like I said, I went to Texas Southern. But so I got a couple more words, and we've got through almost an hour. I told you it'd be a fast hour, man.
I knew when you said that, or you said it. I think you wrote that. I was like, yeah, it's gonna be quick.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
It's a great thing. It's a great thing.
Yeah. Opportunity.
Ooh. Listen, man, right now, because of my sobriety, because of what I'm doing with the YouTube, my different streams of revenue, gig economy are outside of it. My opportunities are what I make it. And there's so many, I think, in the gig space alone. If you look past the main apps, your DoorDashes, your Sparks, your Uber, and your Instacart, those are the main ones, right? If you look past that and open up and do some research in your market, opportunities in the gig space it's going to continue to be growing. This gig space is growing every day, right? if you look past the main ones. But as far as life in general, opportunities are boundless, man. Like they're endless, in my opinion. Especially for me now that I'm not drinking and I got a higher power. Like I feel like I can do anything right now. You know, I know that sounds maybe a little cheesy, but that's how I really feel. I really feel that. And working the gig economy, because it still does work for me. I'm blessed to have a good market. I'm blessed to have the support system to where I can go out there and hustle as much as I need in one day or as little as I need in one day. 2025 is going to be my best year. And I've had some good ones, but 2025, because of the opportunities that I am putting in front of myself and the ones that are afforded to me just by being a gig worker, I mean, they're endless. And I know for some people that might sound a little weird because a lot of people are struggling. I think if it's about what you make of it, and it's about how you adapt. It's about what research you do. It's about what opportunities you take advantage of. But I think they're going to be there, and I'm looking forward to them. So,
Speaking of opportunity, I told you about 40 years ago. That was one. That was a window of opportunity that would not have come back to me when I took up on it, because at the time, Texas Southern was open enrollment, meaning that all you had to do was show proof of a GED or a high school diploma.
oh, okay.
Yeah, and I mean, and then the fact that my uncle was able to kind of put together a little financial aid through his contacts, get me a financial aid package and all. Back then, books and tuition for an entire year was $1,600 if you're in state.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
That's when you
That's crazy.
See when you see certain opportunities, it's like in football. You got to bust through that hole. Go at it full force because it may not be there when you come back the next time around.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You got to seize that moment. You got to seize that opportunity. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So, and that's what I remind myself every day. So if I'm hard on myself, it's because I think I felt that I missed an opportunity, or I didn't recognize the opportunity, or sometimes I could say that I did take advantage of the opportunity. There are challenges every day out there doing this, but it doesn't have to be. Is in any business enterprise, you have your challenges every day.
Yeah.
The question is, are you up for those challenges? Can you respond to those challenges? So, hey, y'all, I hope that y'all listening to this because, hey, this is how you make your money. This is how you make the best of, if you will, opportunities.
Yeah.
This is the stuff that is not talked about on the channels when you're presenting. Yes, I did this Instacart and I got $30 for this one. No, this is what gets you in that position.
Yeah.
This is what keeps you there. Or when shit gets bad, this is what helps you get through it. Whatever it's worth. All right. So then I'll throw in this word and then we'll end with one last question. Authenticity.
I like that you're bringing these words because they're a little bit different in each way. I think, authenticity for me, let me go back before I go forward if I can. I'll be brief.
Mm-hmm.
I've definitely, for me, authenticity has never been more important right now as a content creator than ever. And I've been on YouTube almost 4 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to say I haven't made authentic content, but because of my sobriety, because of how I'm looking at the world right now, I'm a lot more authentic than I've ever been, if that makes sense. That doesn't mean I wasn't before, but I believe because I was chasing those subscriber counts, chasing the monetization money on YouTube, which can be really good, and it was and still is good for me, right? But when you chase that, you can't really I wasn't for myself, my true authentic self, because I was guided by monetization, guided by subscriber count. So I was making sometimes videos that were repetitive or they were too much or maybe a little clickbaity or this or that because you're chasing something. When you're chasing something, it's hard to be authentic. I'm not chasing anything right now.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay.
I'm not chasing a subscriber count. I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about what the YouTube check's going to look like. So I can just be my authentic self,
Right. Now,
and I can make content. I can make content I can stand by a little bit more, if that makes sense.
That I'm gonna say, I'm gonna kind of, I'll just put it like this. As an insurance agent, I've often told folk that I don't let my wallet dictate to me how I do business with you. Likewise, when it comes to the channel,
Yeah.
my wallet does not dictate to me what content I put out there.
Yeah.
Again, I'm always asking what's in it for the viewer, what's in it for the subscriber.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll say, you know, I definitely at times in the past, even as recent as 4 months ago, whatever, was my content sometimes was guided by my wallet, guided by the monetization check. You know what I mean? And that can be okay sometimes, but if you do it too much, I think it catches up to you. And I also think that the viewers can see through it sometimes, right? They can see, well, Pedro's made this video 10 times already, or he's talking about DoorDash again because that's what people want. And that can be okay situationally, but if it becomes your channel's identity or your identity, it's gonna fold at some point. You know what I mean? But now if I flip the camera on and I can talk about Deliver That and still be authentic, but I can also talk about myself. And when I'm talking about my journey and sobriety, or if I'm talking about something else I got going on outside of the gig economy, that's my truest form of my personal authenticity, you know. And I think that shows through the camera a lot better through that lens, because that's what I want to talk about, you know. And I think that shows, even if the views are down or the monetization's down, it's more purposeful, and it's just better overall. So
we're going to end on this question. Are there still miserable people out there? And do you give any space to that?
That's a great question. I haven't used that word or made a video like that in a while. And you know what? I think there are different degrees of customers, right? We all, you know, just like there's different degrees. Everybody has a bad day. People tip or they don't. But no, I don't. You know, this might come, maybe this is shocking to you or some people. I don't think there are miserable people out there when they're making a choice to eat something. I think people are just hungry, or maybe they're misinformed. But at the end of the day, who am I to say, oh, that person is miserable because they didn't tip? That's such like a low level thing to think about somebody else. You know, do I think there are people that are more kind than others? Sure. Do I think somebody's miserable because they don't tip? I don't. I don't believe that anymore. In my heart, I don't believe it. I just don't.
Okay, I just had to ask that question.
I know. I'm just saying, you know. I love that question. That's a good one.
All right, well, Pedro,
Full
hey
circle
man,
moment.
thanks for participating in this session.
Thank you.
What I'm gonna do is put you in the green room. I'm gonna close out this, and then we'll close out on a personal.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for the chat, and appreciate it, Geezer. Thank you, man.
All right. Hey y'all, thanks for hanging out with me with the damn conversation. I've just been speaking with Pedro, MrBetonYou Santiago. I will tell y'all now that my invited guest for next week's I'm Speaking is going to be this guy. Bear with me here. This gentleman, he's already agreed to appear on Big CJ Cargo Van. So it's going to be Geezer and CJ Cargo Van next week, January 15th at 9:00 Eastern. And so hopefully y'all be here with the damn conversation. Again, thanks again for coming by. I'm going to throw out some names here as I'm heading out. Chief, let's see here. I got old eyes right now. Chief Demand, Raymond Picard Jr., thank you for coming through here. A-Train, thanks for coming through here. SB earlier. Here's Johnny, who's on the other side of town. Y'all helped make it a pretty good conversation here tonight. So, as I often will say, may your grind and your hustle continue. And check y'all out next week.